I summon thee. Let me see thy face. Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest?
I said you'll have fun, and I won't disappoint you.
Welcome, fellow KISS fans. Welcome to It's All For You Demons, celebrating the fun of being a KISS fan, and welcome to something that we think, or have hoped, KISS Online would do. A direction they would follow, and that is taking it back old school, taking it back to a vintage feel. And tonight, we're going to discuss the new Dynasty Mirror. Nothing hugely special about this. It's just a mirror with the Dynasty poster and the KISS logo. But to me, this feels like a step in the right direction. I think when the avatars came out, or the avatars were announced, and they came out at the final show, I think a lot of people felt like everything's going to change and everything's going to go sour. And then we started seeing new collection releases, like the debut record, the 50th anniversary of the debut record. Of course, everyone was hoping for a box set. We didn't see that. But I'm going to say we saw some pretty cool merch. Case in point, the 50th anniversary Letterman's jacket, if you will. I think it reminds me of one of the early 80s, late 70s satin jackets that you'd see ball players wear. It has that vibe to it. So to me, that has a 70s vibe. And of the other merch available for the debut record, everything was cool. But to me, the jacket was the only thing that kind of had that old school 70s vibe. This even had like a disco vibe, which I loved even more. And then we had the Creatures release, which was the reveal of the $900 box set with glow-in-the-dark vinyl. All of it was cool, but the only piece that really looked kind of vintage or had a vintage feel was the Creatures of the Night buckle that we covered. Could have been a little better, but this is the only piece that really had a 70s vibe. Now, coming back to the Dynasty Mirror of the Dynasty release, this was the only piece to me that had that 70s vibe to it, because this strikes me so much like a Carnival Mirror. Something a kid would have gotten in 1979, 1980 at a carnival, throwing a dart at a balloon. Tiny little KISS mirror with the Dynasty artwork on it, poster artwork, center ring artwork, and the KISS logo. And to me, that is a super cool step in the right direction, because may not be their intent at all, but to me, you're grasping, or you're throwing your line out to people like me who love collecting vintage merch. But vintage merch on eBay is too damn pricey. So finding new items that harken back to that nostalgic feel, that is a step in the right direction for me. That is what this brand should continue to do. So for me, this was a 10 out of 10. Good purchase, and I'm going to love to see how this looks in the Wax Night basement with all the other Dynasty goods. So as we speak of Carnival mirrors, that is an area of vintage collecting that I have never gone down. I've never seen a KISS mirror in the wild. The only Carnival mirror I have in my collection is from the 80s, and it is a Hot in the Shade Carnival mirror. And if you grew up in the late 80s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These rock and roll Carnival mirrors. So much fun. And that outer box, that horrible cardboard outer box with this gold design that we were given to hang these horrible mirrors on our wall. They weren't even mirrors, it's just glass. It's not like you can see yourself in it. It was so much fun. It just, cost you $1 for 3 darts, and if you were lucky, you walked away with a piece of rock and roll goods under your arm. And the only one I ever remember winning as a teenager was a Poison Open Up and Say Aw era Carnival mirror. I don't even remember seeing this, but had Danny and I known that the St. Joe Carnival had a Hot in the Shade mirror, we would have darted to the Food for Less parking lot where the annual carnival was always held. Sketchy rides, sketchy employees, put up overnight. But for $1, you could maybe walk away with a piece of rock and roll memorabilia, Hot in the Shade to boot. I would have put all my allowance towards winning one of these. I love 80s merch. I would love to see more 80s merch. My gosh, if KISS would release a Hot in the Shade mirror, dang, I would be all over it. And I know a few friends who would as well. So as we talk vintage mirrors, let's pull out the second best reference guide ever in the world, hottest brand in the land, and check out some of the vintage mirrors, the album cover mirrors from Brighton Mechanical Mirror Works. 1977, we have the Love Gun mirror and the Destroyer album artwork mirrors. First up, the Love Gun mirror, and then of course the Destroyer mirror. I'm gonna say if I was to pick one of the two, they're both on eBay and I only had money for one, I would go Love Gun. Makes a little cooler mirror, although the Destroyer one is awesome. And you know, KISS, once again, if you do collections of either of these albums, these would be a good go-to to pull on our nostalgic heartstrings. And then there are a ton of unofficial Carnival mirrors from the 70s. Just go to Knights in Satan's Service page, check out all those. There are tons of them, variants of all kinds. And to me, that's always, when there's so much of something and so many variants, it's like army kits. I got into army kits because I was lucky enough to get a solo album kit that was almost completely done. It's not complete yet. I've added pieces to it, but for the most part, there was a majority of the stuff there. So it felt comfortable going into stuff like this blind. Mirrors, there's so many variants. It's confusing to my mind. I have a simple mind, and I also think the market, they're so expensive. And then relying on an eBay seller to send it to you packaged well enough that you don't receive a broken mirror, that's where stuff gets scary. And I've yet to tiptoe down the road of those 70 Carnival mirrors. I would much prefer to tiptoe down the road of 80s Carnival mirrors. I don't know if KISS, well yeah, they do. They have there is an animalized 80s Carnival mirror. That might be more my game if I was gonna tiptoe down that road. The vintage mirrors are cool, and even more cool are the gosh darn Australian mirrors. Just fantastic stuff. I mean, and let's be honest, even though I like to think positive, this is Never Never Land stuff. I don't know a circumstance where I would stumble upon an Australian mirror for a price I would want to pay, and yet again trust that mirror is shipped from Australia to Kansas City, Missouri safely. So KISS mirrors, I love ya, but I think I'm gonna have to stick 80s or present mirrors in my collection. But who knows, things could change. The avatars could come out and everyone in the game decides to jump out and sell all their stuff, and everything's on eBay for $20 to $75, and I'm gonna be there with my little shovel, shoveling it all in. And I know a few friends who are gonna do the same. Is that wishful thinking? I don't think so. I think it will happen, because I think once we get towards these avatars, I'm a supporter of KISS, but once we get into this avatar game, we're gonna see a lot of the old school people.
Fuck this. Nice doing business with you, kid.
We're all gonna be there, scooping it all in. Thank you for hanging with us tonight and waxing a little rock and roll nostalgia, a little mere carnival fun nostalgia. Here in the Wax Night House, be good to your babies, spay, neuter, microchip, take care, be safe. We will talk to you soon.
I said you'll have